Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Positive Club. Today, I have with me another amazing human being that is making a lot of difference in the world. His name is Rex, and by the way, this is not financial advice. Rex, thank you very much for coming in here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So pleasure's all mine. Thank you for inviting me on. So my name is Rex. I have started a community in the crypto online space, heavily through TikTok and YouTube about a year ago now, and we try to teach people how to trade cryptocurrency. Now that's the core way that we try to teach people how to make money in the space, but we also have these free communities that anybody in the space, whether you're a trader or investor, whatever the case be, new to crypto, you have the ability to join in and join on through. And we have thousands of members in there who are all different areas of experience and different levels of experience. And it's kind of like almost having technical support, because a lot of problems in cryptocurrency, these exchanges and stuff, they don't have good technical support. So we've got guys such as myself and other individuals and members who have just absolutely been around the block in every certain area and factor of this industry, and it just helps people out. We try to teach people how to avoid scams, which is a huge one. If they ever get a weird email link or something like that, they have the ability to always reach out to one of us, post in the chat, and of course we've seen it all at this point to be able to protect these people. On our website as well, we also have a 3-hour crash course, which I don't think probably there's another influencer in the space who's gone through about 10 weeks of filming and editing and built a crash course to teach new individuals about the industry from front to back. That's absolutely free, that nobody has to pay a penny for. So we just, we try to make a difference here, and wanted to actually preach something positive for people to find an interest and really enjoy this space, and figuring out that there's always ways to change your life no matter where it goes.
Rex, I see a lot of influencers, right? I got into this thing like, I think about a couple of years ago, and everybody's shilling all these coins and everybody's talking about this stuff. But what I like about you, you're very realist, you're like professional and a realist. And when you talk, even I've seen sometimes people insult you on the TikToks and stuff like that. And what I noticed, you don't care, because you know who you are, you know what you are here to do. And that is very rare, man.
Yeah, it's 100%. One thing that I take a lot of pride in is, and I get emails all the time. I mean, I've got one right now that has emailed me probably 5 times trying to continue to set something up. Is I don't ever take bribes to talk about projects or talk about things. The only times that's ever happened is if there's like a wallet software, something that's not necessarily to get people to invest their money into, really. So yeah, as far as projects goes, things like that, and I've made this promise to my community for a very, very long time, and tend to keep it as well. I have no plans on ever doing that and shilling a project and pushing a project on people and stuff. And and just like you said, I am one of the rare people where some people get mixed signals if they're new and don't really understand, where they'll look at me and they'll be like, here's this guy who is so into cryptocurrency, but at the same time is going around saying that 99.99% of this stuff is all a scam to just grab your money and to set something up in that way. And it's just the unfortunate realism of the things that I have to bring to the table, because that is what I believe. And yeah, of course, a lot of people, unfortunately, they take quite a bit of offense to that, but it is what it is. So.
Yeah, there's like, for example, the NFT projects, right? And then some of the crypto coins, right? They're just people, they come and shill it. Yeah. You buy the thing and then the next day it's gone down to zero. You're like, why did I do that? And it's just, it never ends. And it's, and I think what you're providing a safe environment for people to come in and learn about this stuff.
Absolutely, 100%, because by the end of the day, the name is within itself, right? These are cryptocurrencies. So currency is something that we're obviously exchanging amongst each other for goods and value, services, whatever. And some of these assets, very few of them, actually do bring that aspect to the table. But when you're telling me that I got some meme coin named after some cartoon character, that's a exchange of value, that I'm going to go to the grocery store, or I'm going to do anything in the future and exchange that for a goods or services or whatever the case may be as a currency, it's so obvious, at a point where it's like, come on, man, and I feel bad for the people who get sucked into that stuff. So.
I got sucked into it a couple of times, but I learned my lesson fast.
We all have, so that's all good.
So Rex, for the people who don't know, what is cryptocurrency?
So basically, cryptocurrency started off with the idea that it was a permissionless way of changing the traditional financial ecosystem. Obviously, the traditional financial ecosystem works off the trust-based ecosystem where we have third parties involved. And, Satoshi Nakamoto, which is the anonymous group or individual who created Bitcoin, in his white paper, he outlined a peer-to-peer seamless payment system that was basically designed to remove that third party to just allow a more sufficient and almost more, shall I say, almost provable form of payments, and something that you don't really have to worry about outside sources messing with your money. And cryptocurrency, has many definitions as far as certain factors when we dive deep into it, obviously, of getting into the the mining aspect, or getting into the NFTs or smart contracts, and then obviously blockchains too as well. But just really think about the blockchain being a public distributed ledger, or most of them. Some blockchains are private, but majority of them are public distributed ledgers that allow people to see these transactions that are formed on the block, and they are never able to be tampered with, ever be changed, or anything in that manner. So it's a beautiful work of art when you start to dive in and actually pay attention to what is going on here.
What type of projects should people be looking for? Because every day there's new crypto, there's new coins, and some of these projects, they have all this good foundation. Some of them fail. So what do you do to find a good project?
So the answer to that is really, what are you looking for? Because if I am somebody who wants to, let's say I am just investing a certain amount every week and I want to just forget about it, and really because I believe in the industry of crypto, then you're probably going to want to sit back and ask yourself, what can I see has value that makes people want to use this product? Like why, like Bitcoin is a perfect example, right? Something like this in Bitcoin, it's proved out, it's been around for a long time. People can use it as whatever they want, store value, whatever, transferring money around. That is something that's probably going to not go anywhere as far as this industry goes. So something like Bitcoin, for people who are just, let me sit back, I just invest a little bit here and there, maybe, whatever, maybe it gets, somewhere, an absolutely insane price into the future. Now, if you're somebody who is more on the technological front side, unfortunately, it does get more challenging, and you do have to be more specific on exactly the sector. If you are looking for real projects that are going to make people returns, you need to look for trends. Like trends are the things that you want to try to get ahead of. Like AI is one of them that they're currently talking about quite a bit right now. One thing that I like to try to do is really look for trends that haven't taken place yet. One that I personally am heavily watching right now is the privacy sector, just because one of the, no one talks about this for some reason. It's so beyond, mind-boggling to me about how important this is. So like, for example, Bitcoin, right? It's a public open ledger. Now, the difference between a bank and Bitcoin is that when I do a transaction with Bitcoin, it's anonymous in the sense that you don't know who I am necessarily, but you can still see that money, where it's going, where it's been, everything, how much money's in that wallet. Whereas with a bank, if you see my card, you now see my name and who it belongs to, but you can't see what's in my bank account. So it's kind of vice versa in that way. But here's the kicker that's dangerous with crypto, is that if let's say you have a piece of artwork, and I'm going to go buy your piece of artwork from you, and I'm buying it from you, and you're going to accept my Bitcoin for it. The problem is the second me and you do that transaction, I now know how much money you have. You now know how much money I have. You now know where my money's going, and where your money's going, and where your money came from before you got it, and where my money came from before you got it. So now I have a face and a name to attach to that transaction, and I can basically watch every move that you decide to do for the rest of your life. Even if you want to move it to another wallet, I can see where that wallet's going to have, your money. And basically privacy is going to solve that factor where, something like a blockchain, and not necessarily saying Monero itself is going to be the one that people use, but just using an example of something like Monero, it basically hides that issue. And then you get best of both worlds, where now people can't, track you, and they can't see where your money's going, but you can still move your money around in a without a third party in a seamless manner. So focusing on things like trends is a huge thing for me. Maybe even, I mean, let's say, cryptocurrency, and this is a real problem that people don't want to talk about. Let's say that cryptocurrency does become very mainstream and something like Bitcoin is a reserve currency for around the world. What happens when you go to and this is not me putting anything out there, it's just the fact of the matter. Let's say you go to a third world country and instead of you swapping for their currency at an exchange, you just want to use your Bitcoin because it can be used there, you can use here, there, whatever. The second you go and do a transaction with somebody, like I said, they now know how much money you have, where your money's coming from, and where it came from. You just became a target. And that is an issue because without that third party, even though it sounds great in hindsight when we're kind of doing our first world, type, things, but in a third world aspect, if they hold you hostage or hold you for ransom and they get that Bitcoin off you, you're never going to get it ever again. There's no recovery team. There's none of that stuff. And like I said, I know that kind of went a little bit into the trend of talking, but that just gives you an idea of, if you're looking for more technological bases in cryptocurrency, you're not necessarily here for like the long-term holding store value type thing. You want to search for trends. And then kind of now getting onto the next aspect, which are the people that really love for some reason, because people chase get rich quick schemes, are the meme coins and another essence of that factor. And if you want to look for projects like that, you want to look for community. So if you find a small project that has a strong community where every single day you are seeing people talk about the project, going over the project, and they believe in this and they're pushing it, and you've got the people chilling over Twitter, YouTube, and stuff like that. Those are the things that you want to look for those get rich quick schemes. Now, take your profit once it starts moving, and and even me being more on the serious side of investing here, I mean, in the last, I'm not ashamed to say, in the last market cycle, I mean, I made a ton of money off those types of projects and stuff. So there's a way you can go about these things. Unfortunately, the third option that I just gave with those types of meme coins, eventually that party is going to be gone, and people are going to wake up and realize, because they've all lost so much money doing that stuff, because someone always loses. I mean, someone's got to lose by the end of the day, unfortunately, and that's kind of the way these things work. So
how do you use this privacy coin to hide? Because now now it makes sense. Now you're like anybody who has crypto, I guess they're a target now, right? So what do you do to hide this thing? How does it work? Is there a system with this privacy coin?
So basically, for example, and like it may not be textbook the way I'm saying this, but essentially something like Monero, for example, it runs very similar to the way Bitcoin does. The only difference is that it has something called a ring signature. So for example, if you have wallet A and wallet B, we're doing a transaction together. What happens is if wallet A is going to send wallet B some money through that private blockchain, such as Monero, what happens is it goes to what's called a ring signature, where it basically recycles the money through on a fake dummy wallet address. And then that address is what sends the money over to person B. So it kind of has a washing system that cycles it around to protect the identities of both individuals.
So let's say you want to send some Cardano to your wallet. How does it work? Do you send it to Monero and then it goes into the wallet?
So,
how does it?
See, that's kind of an issue right now where it's just early pre-stages. So the blockchains that you're sending your assets on are kind of specific for that asset. So if I were to be sending Cardano to somebody who wants Cardano, it's unfortunately going to be a public transaction. Now, maybe in the future, something such as a layer 0 projects, which are basically used to bridge blockchains, maybe could do something where it will bridge your Cardano over to Monero and then send it over, then bridge it back to Cardano. It could definitely be something that we could see taking place here, for sure.
What is a wallet and how does it work?
So a wallet, basically, just in layman's terms, is just something that stores your cryptocurrency. Think of it as a bank account. It's, it has its own set of seed phrases or mnemonic seed phrases, basically, that makes up. It's something that's stored through the blockchain. Like I said, I don't want to get too technical because it starts to just confuse everybody and stuff. But just to think of it as your own bank account. That's what a wallet is. It's your own seamless bank account that you don't need anybody's permission to do anything with your money with, ever.
So Rex, how long have you started this crypto journey?
So I joined into the industry in early 2017, before the big bull market started back in 2017, and Unlike a lot of people who kind of joined during that time and then left once the market kind of fell down, I really became obsessed with the technology and some of the other aspects of the industry. And I just kind of stayed, and I've always been that way since I was younger, where if I found interest in something, I would learn everything about it from front to back and would make it my life and become absolutely obsessed with it. And that's kind of what I've done, where I just found an industry. It was new and emerging. I started trading futures back in 2018, so about a year after too as well. And that also kind of kept the interest for me, because people who just invest here, it's all in cycles. You know, the market's going up, everyone's investing, trying to make some money, and then all of a sudden we have a bear market start, and then, you know, it goes back down. But for me, it was something where with trading, it allowed me to make money no matter where the markets, you know, decided to go. Whether it was going up or down, I could always make money. So for me, that part wasn't as big of a deal as really seeing the benefit of what cryptocurrency provided. And the aha moment that I had with it was about probably in the middle of the last bull market, where when I started to do stuff with my community and started to really see the way cryptocurrency can kind of better the way business structure works around the world. So for example, and this is kind of a, you know, whoa, you know, kind of thing when I say this, our community in the past 6 months has moved almost $1.7 billion in net volume to move around. But here's the kicker, you know, that part sounds impressive, right? That's all, you know, it's a lot of money. But the more impressive part about that is I would be confident to tell you that the only, you know, organizations in the world who can do something in that manner in a completely decentralized way. Like I said, I moved that amount of money, but there's no government organization on planet Earth has any idea that I moved that amount of money. And that, when you start to trickle your brain around that and you start to go, holy cow, that's when you go, there's something big coming for this industry in the future, for the people who not only invest here, but more importantly, I think if people stop focusing so much on cryptocurrency as an investment tool and more or less think of cryptocurrency as how can this better my current business model and my current business structure for my business that's outside of the industry, and how do I apply things down the road with things such as cryptocurrency, that's, or blockchain technology, maybe more specific there. That is when the real kicker will start to turn people's wheels and to start making people think. I mean, this industry, we have no idea. I mean, this can absolutely influence so many different things where people aren't even realizing. I mean, if we look at the traditional stock market, right, and equities, these are things that are moved around by storing things really on basically like a balance sheet. So you have things, you know, all this wash trading, and you have these ghost shares, and you have all of these things that don't really, you know, appropriately exist. Did anybody ever stop to think, what if the US stock exchange, for example, was kind of consumed by the crypto industry, and that these stocks that we are already investing to increase the value of the shares to go up and down now become, you know, recorded transactions on a blockchain to prevent ghost shares, to prevent wash trading, to prevent all of these certain factors. And when you start to think about that and where this can really influence and get into to better and make things more authentic, because we now, and it's better for the people, because by the end of the day, we now don't have to, you know, rely on a third party. I don't need to make sure that, you know, Robinhood or whatever, you know, the horror stories we've heard over the past few years of these companies are doing things legitimately by the books. I don't have to worry about that anymore, because now it's done by a genius, you know, state-of-the-art computer system, you know, that is verifying every single one of these transactions on this blockchain. And I have nothing to worry about, because I don't have to worry about the big guy, the fear of the big man, you know, coming in and doing something to hurt me, because it's no longer ran by them. And that's, you know, they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep it from happening. But I mean, eventually the people want what the people want. And I think it's going to definitely take over at some point. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming up with some regulations, and then you find out all these people, they're not really in it for you, right? Yep. So.
Yeah, well, you know, and as far as the regulatory side goes, it's super tough. I mean, we have no idea, and we can see signs from the IRS, and we can see signs from certain factors in government that they just don't know what the hell this stuff is. You know, they pay people, but what I love about crypto is that, and of course there's always going to be speculatory people who are conspiracy theorists saying the government put this out, this was the government and stuff, which maybe, I mean, who knows? But by the end of the day, when you have a technology made by the people that comes from the people, it's open game. You can have, the government can pay these top, developers or whatever on, that research this stuff and learn all about this stuff, but it's open field. There's a kid probably somewhere randomly around the world who's got just as much information, understands how this stuff works as the individual that the government's going and paying millions of dollars to be able to study this stuff and teach them how to regulate and control it. It's an open market, it's open field, and I think the regulations around the corner, but unfortunately I think the regulation we'll end up getting is probably a little bit of a band-aid slap on the wrist, and they're not going to even know what the hell they're regulating, to be completely honest with you. So
where do you see this thing going? I mean, are we in a bear market or are we in a bull market? Because we had a huge rally. I mean, not a huge. I mean,
Yeah, well, no. I mean, 50 plus, from the bottom, well over 50% rally. So fantastic rally. So we're not in a bull market, but patterns and charts often repeat themselves, and especially with cryptocurrency right now in the earlier years and time frames. These things are heavily manipulated, and it's just a fact of the matter. Sometimes that, the idea of that doesn't make people too happy to hear. But by the end of the day, it is true. It is very manipulated, and these people will probably manipulate the charts in a very similar fashion. So if you go back and you look at 2019, when we bottomed in December of 2018 at around 3,200 in the previous bear market cycle, we had a rally from 3,200 all the way up to $14,000. Now, many people would see a 330+% explosion on the price action of Bitcoin as a very, whoa, that's like a bull market, right? But technically, we did not make a new all-time high. We did not get back above 20,000, and we did stop short. We eventually distributed back to the downside, and then of course the March COVID crash of 2020 happened. But I would expect something very, very similar to probably take place here in this essence, where I know the biggest difference now is the macroeconomic environment and stuff that a lot of people like to beat, to a dead horse by saying that. But the difference is, there's a very famous saying, and it's not just for crypto, it's any industry of trading, investing. Cryptocurrency, is no different in the essence that if you show me the charts, I can tell you the news, right? And what people understand is, when we were going live and right before this happened, and we were starting to see some of the bullish divergence coming into the charts, and we were screaming for everybody to buy, right at about 16.8, 17K, about a week before this explosion took place in the market. And, of course, people have their opinions as far as the macroeconomic environment goes, and like, well, this, and that. But here's the thing, is that charts will give us time to be able to tell when something's going to take place. All it takes is one day, one news event in specific to change the view of the entire market, right? The beginning of the year, when we look at the Federal Reserve's policy, everybody's like, well, they're going to keep raising rates throughout the whole year, and it's, they're going to hold them, and it's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's going to be all doom and gloom, the sky's falling. And then what happens, we see the charts looking like some bullish divergence is taking place. We get this explosion, and our previous FOMC event that we just had was by far the most dovish one we have. We're possibly only getting 2 more interest rate hikes already, and then all of a sudden you start to see the news change. And that's why, for me, the second I learned to be, start to get very successful in investing in this industry was the second that I learned that I need to turn the damn news off at night and stop paying attention to the news and start seeing what plays out, in some of these factors. And a lot of people answer this stuff from themselves. They believe that this stuff is so heavily manipulated and controlled in the markets. Okay, that's fine. So then if you think this is heavily manipulated and somebody's controlling this, the news doesn't matter. The news is just a ploy to give you a reason, as far as the common retail investor goes, to think why this took place or why this happened. So yeah, it's there's a formula to this stuff. It can be learned. It's not, it's not foolproof, but you definitely can figure out and get ahead of these markets if you really take the time to learn this stuff.
Rex, what is some of your favorite projects and why?
So when I first started off in the industry, I was all over the place, like many people, and very common thing to just be like, this technology is going to do this is going to do that, this is going to do this, revolution here, right? Yeah. It's very common, right? When you have a new emerging industry that is very easy to get out of control, right? Very easy to think that this is going to do this and do that. But For me, I try to keep on certain avenues and things that are more of like, comparing them to growth stocks or things like that. So for me personally, even though a lot of people hate when I say this, but Bitcoin is one of my favorite I'm not a maxi by any means, but Bitcoin's one of my favorite projects in the space. Just simply due to the fact that I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere. I do think Bitcoin will continue to appreciate and grow as time goes on. So individuals who, over the next 25, 30 years, could easily be looking at, and I think very conservative for me to say this, but probably 15 to 20 times their money in the next 20 to 30 years. If you're really thinking about a safe investment, if you over your lifetime, going through work or whatever, are able to invest even just, $100,000, into an avenue like that over the next 30 years of your work cycle, you're talking possibly at least a $2 million retirement fund, which I think is very modest. And I think even most people with a more minimal job, payment structure could probably, if they're smart, easily outdo $100,000 in that essence. And then of course we start to get into things like Ethereum. Now, I used to really like Ethereum. I have pulled back a little bit from it just because one thing that I loved about Ethereum, and I do know it's key for its, its growth in the future, but they used to be on the proof of work consensus, basically the same way that Bitcoin was, where miners would have to come and use a algorithm to essentially prove the transactions on the blockchain, which is it's a more energy inefficient way of coming to consensus, but it's the most secure way to come to consensus. Now they moved over to proof of stake, which basically relies on a bunch of nodes, or nodes are another word for like computer operators around the world who basically hold up their Ethereum to allow it to have the blockchain come to consensus to form these blocks. It's not as secure, unfortunately. It's much more cost effective, but it does have its ability. That's why you hear like Solana. I'm sure you've heard of Solana, right? How Solana has all these data breaches or these other layer ones. That's because they're on the proof of, they're on a different, proof of work or proof of history, for example, which I believe is what Solana's on. So Ethereum is would definitely be up there too as well, just because ETH is, really trying to be like the internet of money, scaling smart contract solutions, which I do believe NFTs, as far as that essence goes, is going to definitely have a huge ownership providence on the internet in the future. So I'm bullish as far as that goes on ETH. I have, like I said, stepped back just because of that one factor of security does make me a little concerned now. Monero, as I've been talking about, as far as privacy goes, I am very bullish on Monero, just because even if Monero itself, is not the privacy sector project that ends up getting used in the future. It's the fact that it's the original, it's the Bitcoin of privacy, essentially. So if that sector does do something, you should see Monero perform very well. And I think when you look at the charts too as well, it also indicates this. We see how well Monero, and I should say out of blue chip assets, which are usually the top 50 assets, Monero was the second best performing asset in the entire bear market of 2022, and has continued to provide decent returns for people who bought around the bottom too as well. And I think that's because people actually use Monero. They don't care what the price is. They're actually moving Monero around because it gives them a private, secure way. I mean, if you take you take actual physical cash and you think about taking your physical cash and putting it on the internet, which I know sounds a little weird, but that is what Monero is. Because when I have my cash, you don't know how much cash I have. You don't know where that cash came from before I had it, or where it's going after I give it away. So that is really what Monero has is kind of became. And this is another weird fact, but some of the greatest inventions of all time have been adopted by criminals before the rest of the world in public. Yeah, no, this is funny, but here's
it's true.
And John McAfee was one of the first people who really brought this to the forefront. And we look at the phone, right? The telephone was first really adopted by the mobs because they could coordinate their plans and attacks all over the nation before the rest of the public jumped on board. You look at the V8 engine, right? Bonnie and Clyde, wrote Henry Ford a thank you letter to allow them to build such an amazing piece of machinery for them to rob more banks. I think bank robberies went up by some crazy, amount of percentage before, and some of the first real adopters of the internet, other than the military and stuff, were civilians who were using it to coordinate illegal activities. And not to say that that's makes this great. But at the same time, some of the first early adopters of Monero are dark web individuals and stuff, because they have found a value so great into something that they don't care if Monero is $3,000 a coin or if it's $50 a coin, because for them, it's a seamless way for them just to move their money around, and nobody have any way. I mean, the IRS has a $400,000 bounty out right now for anybody who can figure out how to track Monero. So the fact that the government is that interested to figure out how they can track these things, it makes me extremely intrigued about it, because they haven't banned it. They haven't made it to where we can't do anything with it, but they just have a very large bounty out for somebody who can figure out how to figure it out for some reason. They can't figure it out. If that puts no hacker on planet Earth, no individual has been able to step up and take that bounty. So for me, when you talk about a seamless third-party system that works so sufficiently that nobody on planet Earth can step up and take that, that makes me extremely excited about it. And then a more recent one that I've been trading a lot on my channel, actually, and you know, we did some good things with it this month, was Litecoin. And the reason why I like Litecoin is a few different things. Now, in the previous bear market or in bull market cycle, or sorry, I should say, yeah, bull market cycle, it didn't perform very well. Now, I know you're probably like, well, that's not a good thing. But the reason why I think it's a good thing is that in the previous bull market, this was very hype driven, right? And I think where this is a great thing for the future of Litecoin is that exchanges such as FTX, for example, they were trying to list everything with hype. They wanted to get exposure because that's what was paying the transaction fees for people to come and trade. Well, something like a Litecoin, they didn't get much exposure to because there wasn't something that was of a popular essence at that time. So in other words, I don't have to worry about waking up one day and Litecoin drops 50% value because all of a sudden I found out that FTX had this gigantic stockpile of it. So as far as a safe investment goes, that's still proof of work. It's the second, it's an original fork of Bitcoin. It's the second original blockchain, even in the business entirely. And Litecoin's often considered the silver to Bitcoin's gold. It stood the test of time. It's still proof of work. And you know, when we hear entities such as Fidelity getting into the space, their first two assets they've listed was Bitcoin and Ethereum. And the next one most likely that's going to get listed with them is probably going to be something like Litecoin, just because it stood the test of time. It is proven to be a safe, secure network that's never had any sort of issues in that way. So I do believe that the growth potential for Litecoin in the future, I'm not referring to projects that are 100x projects that people want to look for, but safe, valuable investments that will probably continue to outperform any mutual fund, anything of real estate, anything in that essence. Of course, there is more risk, but those are the projects that I like to look into. And I know it's harder for people who don't have larger sums of money to invest, just because you know they feel like if it's 20x, I have $1,000. Well, at best I'm getting $20,000 one day, and I can see why they want to go into the forbidden garden and eat the fruit, and why they want to try to get in that way and stuff. But I think I just if people would sit back sometimes and just realize that sometimes investing it's a long-term game. Some people do get lucky and get things a little bit earlier than others. But if everybody can treat this as a more proficient long-term game to really see something, at one point in time, you're going to have these life-changing goals, and you're going to have these things that can absolutely benefit you and make you, have a life that you've always wanted to live. It's not going to be an overnight process for 99.99% of people, unfortunately.
So do you just do trading, or do you also hold some crypto long-term?
Yeah, so here's the thing, is I am very hands-on in the industry. I'm a very motivated investor in the sense of the way that I go about things. I'm very, like I said, very aggressive and very tactical with the way I go about things. And I have I have 3 different sectors and 3 different modes that I put myself into. So bull market is when I take 80% of my dry powder, and basically dry powder just refers to your stablecoin funds or your money in general that you have in the market. So I'll take about 80-90% of my money in a bull market and make sure that my money's at play for me. I always want to have 10 to 20% of dry powder left, just in case there's a pullback in the way, or I want a dollar cost average of the way up into the market cycle. But I go pretty heavy on with a lot of my holdings, and then of course I only use probably 5% of my portfolio to do leverage trading, to add some money behind my money to try to accumulate some more assets too as well. Then what happens is we then flip to a bear market, and when a bear market happens, I have 0% of my money in spot trades, and I am trading my heart out, probably using 5% of my portfolio at a given time, where I'm just constantly trading, longing and shorting the market up and down to try to accumulate more assets. And then we have time periods like this, which is the third phase for me, which is a rally phase. And I will use about 30% of my portfolio, or up to 30%, I should say, to where I am holding spot trades and I am holding some of these assets, but I'm still obviously doing trading. So I'm trading no matter which market cycle goes around, but there are certain time periods when I do want to cut out my spot trades and my long-term holdings. And the reason for doing that is very simple. If you look at even the charts here, and this may change in the future if this continues to grow, but as of right now, at least, it has not proven me otherwise. If you were to get back into this market or look back at it back in 2018, the average retail investor probably bought in after $14,000 on Bitcoin. So, the whole terminology that people like Warren Buffett use, where it's it's not about timing the market, it's about how much time in the market, which is a fantastic theory to go off of. But in cryptocurrency, it is not that way at all, because if you were to buy Bitcoin 5-6 years ago when it was $14,000 to $20,000 towards the top of the market structure, like most people did, and then all of a sudden you're about, well, it's about time in the market, so let me keep holding it. And all of a sudden the market pumps up and we go all the way up to $69,000 and you don't sell because you're like, it's going to go to $1 million at one point. And then now all of a sudden you look at where we are, we just hit $15,500. So there's a chance that you held that asset for that long of a period of time and you just went negative profit once again, instead of selling at the top of the market structure or even around the top of the market structure and then rebought back in towards the bottom of the structure. And you don't have to time it. You don't need to time the exact bottom. Let's say you bought at $14,000, $15,000 in the previous market cycle. You sold Bitcoin at $52,000, not $69,000, $52,000, and then all of a sudden the market tanks back down and you bought back at $20,000, not 15, not the bottom, but $20,000. You just accumulated that much more Bitcoin. You had long-term capital gains tax, so you paid way less in taxes in general. You see, so many people have the idea here and they go about this wrong because they want to compare this to everything else. And there's a reason why we even see giants in the space who have absolutely controlled the traditional equities markets for so many years. They fail here. They fail here because they treat this like it's been everything else in the past. This is a new game. This is a new playing field that is going to give anybody the chance who wants to learn this stuff and treat it as if a chance to really do something here.
What should you look for when you want to buy this crypto? Because I know some people, they look at market cap. Some people look at how much coin is in circulations. Some people look like how much is actually out there and how much the company is holding. What are some of the key points to look for a good project when it comes to this stuff?
A lot of the things you actually just named are all fantastic things to really pay attention to. So one of the first things is really a eyeball test, is what I like to call it. So if I go and I want to look at not only the white paper, I need to make sure the white paper is absolutely professionally done well, right? They need to have paid someone to have done a very professional white paper. That's very, very important. Not these little Google document, little typewriting hand things up that they like to do, or copy and paste things that they like to do. Another thing that I really pay attention to is somebody's website. So blockchains are, once you learn the essence of how they work, they're actually a pretty simple technology to think of how things come together. But for the common individual to get in, it is a little bit more challenging to just think of like this whole new technology. So if I go and I see a website for a project and it just literally looks like something out of the 2000s, which there are some major projects that have even had this issue, I judge, if you can't even do the front end of a website, I have an issue for you to tell me that you're going to build some futuristic project that's going to just do something absolutely amazing and solve this and solve that, but you can't even build a simple front end of a website. So that's a huge thing as far as an eyeball test goes. Now, as far as, a big one when you look at like the tokenomics is, really seeing who owns the tokenomics. So for example, when you look at something like Solana, for example, even though being a very popular project, Solana has some of the worst tokenomics when it comes to actually who owns, all of the, tokens in coins in circulation. That's a huge problem, right? Because the way Solana almost seems like it's ran is kind of in a way of it's here to favor the big guys so that they can just sell on you and stuff because they own so much. Where even it's like, it's not my favorite project in the space, or not even really a project I care about, but Cardano, for example. Cardano actually has very good tokenomics, in my opinion. I think Cardano is distributed very properly. It is definitely looking like something that's more favored for the holders and stuff. So something like Cardano has fantastic tokenomics in that essence. Another thing to pay attention to is extremely low circulating supplies. So there are some projects that have been successful with that. Like, for example, YFI is one that's done well with the low circulating supply, which drives the price up very high. But a lot of times with low circulating supplies, they make me very nervous because what happens is they will, get into these projects when there's like next to no market cap, so they're buying in for next to nothing, and then all of a sudden, what happens is people start coming in because of that low circulating supply. They end up getting this massive pump in price value, and then it ends up kind of intruding onto like some sort of like scheme or something for them. So a lot of those super low circulating supply projects, in my opinion, are more along the lines of a pump and dump style thing. Now, of course, very high circulating supplies to where the price is so damn low, where it makes you think, oh, Bitcoin at some point this could go. People don't understand the market cap structure and stuff. That Shiba Inu, for example, is never going to be worth as much as Bitcoin, or Dogecoin is never going to be worth as much as Bitcoin. Even if it had a higher market cap than Bitcoin, it's never going to have the same value as Bitcoin because of the circulating supply. So everything you essentially named off, along with, like I said, doing a simple eyeball test just to use a little bit. I mean, common sense goes a long way in this world, ladies and gentlemen. And if you use simple common sense on some of these factors here, when someone's promising you the world and can't deliver you basic visual concepts to really show you how they're going to get there, it's a bit of a problem, in my opinion. So.
Oh, that's good. So Rex, what are some of the mistakes you've made that you can teach people about?
So some of the mistakes I made was simple one that everybody does. I mean, almost everybody does here, is getting caught up into the get rich quick schemes. Everybody got here because, it's like I said, it's a new emerging technology. So when something's a new emerging technology, it makes it easier for you to get caught up in the mistakes because your whole idea is, well, we don't really know what this stuff is going to end up doing, so maybe this is what ends up doing something, and it's almost a built-in excuse for people to kind of go and make some of these degenerate plays and stuff where they think, like I said, the dumbest thing I hear all the time, it drives me nuts, is people will be like, I'll be like, Dogecoin is only going to be able to do this and accomplish that, and they'll look at me and they'll be like, well, I guarantee you were probably saying that when Bitcoin was only $1, buddy. And I'm just, I'm like, oh, come on, man, it doesn't work that way, and that's a huge thing. And I think along the lines of the same manner there is just people are so focused on what is going to give me 100x, right? The fact that, look, when you look at index funds and things like that, when you get in the traditional equities markets, a good investment per year is around 12% gain on your portfolio. So when I'm trying to give you an idea of a safer investment that could probably give you a 5 to a 20x in the next market cycle, and people don't realize that with traditional investing, I think that's part of this millennial Gen Z way of thinking, is that they want things now. They have to have things now. They got to get rich now. And they want to throw out the idea that if you do what people did before you and got rich, they were making 12% a year on their mutual funds. They were getting their real estate that was, slowly appreciating over time. Well, what if I gave you an asset that is a safer, an asset overall, as far as these more risk-on assets go, that is probably going to return you a 5 to 20x in the next 2 years? That's a 2,000% gain when the people who came before you were focusing on a 12% gain a year. So they got 24% when you're going to get probably 2,000% in the same time period. And that's where people need to, I was one of those people where I made the mistake as well when I first got here, where it's like, no, I need 100,000%, gains on my, my projects and stuff like now. I need to get rich now, And then the second that I flipped away and started to focus that this isn't, there's an old saying that used to go, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Well, investing, I like to say I'm here for a long time, not a good time. Quite the opposite. So if people can apply that, will do them quite a bit of good. And then I think another thing too as well is, just some of the basic investing rules in general. People need to understand what they're getting involved in here. So many people just buy into the idea of these things and they have no idea what the heck they're even investing into or what any of this stuff even means or does or this and that. And if people would just spend the time to research, even if it's 20, 30 minutes every day, if you spend 20 to 30 minutes every day in researching what you're getting involved into here, by 1 year's worth of time with a new emerging industry that everyone's open field, you will be an expert at an expert level in this industry if you just spend that amount of time every single day. Just spend a little bit of time. If you can do more time, fantastic. But even if it's just 20 minutes every day researching projects, looking at the way things move, joining into Telegram and Discord groups, seeing how people behave, studying people's behaviors, and really looking, because that's, I guess that's another thing to touch on too, that is some of the biggest thing as far as success goes, is crypto right now is ultimately trading people's opinions. So market psychology is one of the biggest things that moves everybody's money in general in the world, but cryptocurrency is heavily reflected off of people's opinions. So if you learn, and it's been beautiful for me, because now that I'm growing on social media and stuff, I get comments all the time. So when I go and I have my comments and I get all these people who are saying, when I'm telling everyone to buy at 17K, we're about to get this explosion in the market, and then I post that video out there, and I get all of these people on my video like, "Oh, dude, you're about to get everyone wrecked, bro. Everyone's gonna get wrecked because of you, bro." And I'm like, "All right, so you guys are all short on the market. Okay, thank you for your liquidity. It's much appreciated." And then all of a sudden we get the drive up there a little bit and stuff. So just learning and listen to what people are saying. I mean, chances are, if everybody's bullish in the market, well, probably going to be a pullback coming, or at least, a decline. Or if everyone's bearish and, and that's another thing too as well. It's like everybody sits around like this make-believe world. Like we're going to sit around a campfire and we're going to sing Kumbaya and we're just going to get this fantastic, easy 10K Bitcoin price. So it's just going to be so fantastic. Me and you, we're going to be sitting back at the campfire, having some hot dogs, roasting some marshmallows, and the market makers are just going to give us our fantastic 10K Bitcoin price, and we're just going to go all in, and we're going to get rich off that. It doesn't work that way. Markets often utilize themselves in what's called a max pain method. And when people think of the word max pain, it's essentially market makers driving max pain into retail investors' hearts, because that's how they make the most amount of money. But when you hear the word max pain, most people think at least, that means going down as low as possible, driving my investment value low as possible. That's not always the way it works. Max pain right now is not giving us all what we want, a 10K Bitcoin to get a fantastic buying price, because they know we're waiting for that to take place. Max pain in the markets, believe it or not, right now is driving the price up extremely high on Bitcoin, making all those people who are waiting for 10K FOMO in at 25K, 30K, 35K, 45K, buying the top of the range and then dumping it on all their heads. That's max pain in the market, and that's ideally what market makers want to do, because that's how they make their money. They need us to fill in. These guys have billions and billions of dollars of these assets. They can't just sell all at once. They'll drive the price of Bitcoin so low that it won't even be funny, and then we're all going to get rich because we're going to buy Bitcoin so low. And I don't know why people think that's going to ever happen, but it just doesn't work that way.
What is your background that you came into this? What happened that you got interested? I know that you said about the technology and stuff like that.
So when I was younger, I always was very into investing. And it's something I think that kind of ran in my family. I have a lot of family members who have either A, been investors, or B, have been, in at least some sort of like personal advisor route in that essence, where it's just kind of something that's ran in my blood. So even when I was, in high school and stuff, I always loved the idea of getting involved in the stock market and getting involved in investing and making my money work for me. So once cryptocurrency kind of hit my radar, it was something where I did take a big chance, because I could have went the route of studying traditional equities or real estate, whatever the case may be. But I just took a big risk because I saw an industry, I believed in the technology, and I wanted to take the chance and roll the dice here and say, well, you know what? There's a chance that some way that this industry ends up being absolutely nothing, or there's a chance that this is the next sector of the financial markets, and this is a new open source. There's so much room to grow. It's so young, it's not even funny. And that's that's where I jumped in, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to kind of fulfill what I've always wanted to do. And I'm going to, spend every waking moment, studying and researching this stuff. And, it sometimes it does kind of become a more, I don't know, people all want the byproduct of what the success here can create, but they don't really sometimes think about what goes into it. And there's certain times when I was younger in high school, I had very humble beginnings and stuff. And I wanted all these things. I wanted a nice car, and I wanted a nice place, and I wanted this, and I wanted that. And you think of all of what has to go into getting and accomplishing those things, but then you get to the point of actually doing it. And once you get to it, it's like for me, going and buying a nice car. I now have a condo on the beach, and doing those things. It's fantastic, but it almost has like, I don't want to say it's like not the same like whoa, but you're so stressed and tired from having to figure out how to get there that it's almost it's a rodeo. It's absolutely a rodeo, and people just need to be prepared. If you want to do this stuff, you want to be successful, you want to change your life, you want to do these things, you can do it. You absolutely can do it. But don't think that, there's this like funny thing where this common thing, man, on TikTok or any of these other social media platforms that drive me insane with these traders. And they'll say things like, I make this amount of money every single day. Or or they're like, you know what I did? I woke up this morning, did a little bit of trading, I made some money, and then now I'm off and I can have the rest of my day to go and relax with my friends and stuff. I'm like, that's not trading. That's not investing. That's not the way this stuff works. You are getting up. There's days, there's weeks even that you're not making any money at all. You're losing money at some points because of, decisions that just did not go in your favor. And to think that people are like, oh, I just woke up and I just made money. Or like people will, they'll often refer to these markets as an ATM. Like, oh, the markets are just an ATM for me. I just pull money out and pull money out. And it's such a joke that this stuff doesn't work that way. I'm 26 years old now, and I have hit a point where, I'm like, man, I need to like go and start taking care of my body. I'm getting like gray hairs everywhere and stress and the anxiety and stuff that's beating me up from, doing this stuff. I mean, it's rewarding in the sense that I can now make sure that people are taken care of in my life that I need to be taken care of. But at the same time, it's no easy walk in the park.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is like, most people, they sell each other, they sell their family for nothing, right? And these are the same type of people that are online, and they're shilling all these products, and they're talking, big, and show some pictures and things like that, just to fool the people out there. And then people get wrecked like this. And there's people like you who are selfless, who are doing all these things, for the betterment of other people. And I think this is what is important, because eventually nothing is ours. We're gonna leave our bodies, and that's it. Nothing comes to you with what you've done. And you're helping a lot of people, man. You're changing people's life, you're taking people out of financial stress and things like that. And what is life about if you cannot make a difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest blessing in life is to learn that you can become a blessing for others. And it's a powerful thing because I've always been somebody when I was younger where to me, I just wanted to be successful in the sense I didn't care about like having the, fame or popularity and or anything like that, but now I'm at a point in my career where I have people reaching out all the time, where there's little kids who want to meet me and they want to learn and they want to be just like me, quote unquote, and stuff. And, for me, it starts to like change because it's not even just the financial aspect of being a blessing for other people, but just giving some kid out there, motivation to want to do something with their life. And for me, man, there's nothing more beautiful. There's nothing more, it gets sometimes even emotional just thinking about it. It's just like, it's a beautiful thing, man, because I knew when I was a kid, to be able to look up and have people to, do that with and look up to, and someone to kind of mentor in that essence to, or to look up to in a positive way and stuff, man, it's powerful. There's no better feeling on planet Earth, man. So.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. It's supposed to be like this. We're supposed to uplift each other, and we're supposed to bring each other to high levels, right? But what has been happening is the other way around. People jump on each other's shoulder, and then they... It's just crazy, man. But it's beautiful. Rex, before we go, is there anything else that you want to talk about, or how people can find you?
Yes, so absolutely. So I do have a link tree that does link everything from our communities. Our Telegram and Discord are what I recommend everybody using. You can absolutely join on through. There is a math problem to solve for Telegram and verification for Discord, just to keep bots and fake people out, to keep people safe in there. So feel free to join on in. These are, like I said, these are no upsells, no VIP rooms, nothing like that. You're not going to hit with some secret fee or anything like that. So feel free to join on through. And then I think the last thing that I really wanted to touch on, guys, is, if any of you out there who are watching this, no matter how old, no matter how young, whatever, if you guys have a dream and a vision to want to change something for yourself, just follow through. Just keep doing it and keep trying. We have many individuals out here who are living proof that really do come from humble beginnings, and really show you guys that this stuff is possible, this stuff is powerful, and if you want something bad enough in life, you're going to accomplish it, and you're going to have everything you've ever wanted.
Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast, and I hope that you come back again.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.